regulations, Ferrari threatens to quit after 2020 season. Ferrari has threatened to leave Formula One after its current contract ends in 2020, in response to the recently announced changes for the 2021 season, which can be read below. Ferrari boss Sergio Marchionne hit out at the regulation changes during the brand's third-quarter results conference call, reiterating sentiments he had expressed at last week's Finali Mondiali. Marchionne began by saying that while there are good elements of the plans, such as the cost reduction, a couple of things we don't necessarily agree with, one of which is the fact that somehow sort of powertrain uniqueness is not going to be sort of one of the drivers of distinctiveness in the participants' lineup. And that we see the sport in 2021 taking on a different air is going to force some decisions on the part of Ferrari. Unless we find a set of circumstances the results of which are beneficial to the maintenance of the brand in the marketplace and to the strengthening of the unique position for Ferrari, Ferrari will not play, he continued. A withdrawal from F1 would be a blow for the sport, as Ferrari has never missed a season, but Marchionne floated the possibility of alternatives. It does open up a whole pile of alternatives about what else Ferrari could be doing with itself going forward beyond that date. Previous reports alleged that Ferrari would consider entering Formula E, under the right circumstances. On the flip side, Aston Martin boss Andy Palmer has hinted that the brand is further considering a Formula One entry, following the announcement of new regulations for the 2021 season. The FIA set out the direction for the new engine regulations for the 2021 Formula One season, with lower engine development costs at the top of the bill, a key point of interest for manufacturers wanting to participate in F1. Aston CEO Palmer told Autocar, Aston Martin attended the recent FIA meeting and has been deeply involved through its submissions on potential solutions. We are encouraged by the directions being taken and continue to study a potential Aston Martin solution for 2021. The key will be how development costs are controlled to make participation by independent engine suppliers a viable possibility. Under the new regulations, the 1.6-liter turbocharged V6 hybrid power unit formula, which was introduced in 2014, will remain, but with some key modifications. Stricter parameters for the design of engines' internals are intended to reduce development costs for engine manufacturers and to discourage extreme designs and running conditions, while a high level of new external parameters are set by the FIA to provide teams with a plug-and-play engine/chassis/transmission swap capability. Dimensional parameters for the turbocharger will also be specified. In addition, the power unit's MGUH element, which recovers heat energy from exhaust gases, will be deleted. This will not only cut costs but also make the engine more relevant to hybrid road cars, something F1 has long aimed for. Meanwhile, the MGUK element, which converts kinetic energy from braking into electrical energy and then deploys it under acceleration, will be made more powerful, with a focus on tactical manual deployment of extra power from the driver. The power unit's energy store will also be standardized for all the cars, further cutting costs. The new rules also allow the maximum rev limit to be raised by 3,000 revolutions per minute in an effort to improve the engine's sound, something that has been criticized heavily since the hybrid engines were first introduced. Reducing costs is seen as a key to enticing more engine manufacturers into the sport. Currently, there are just 4, Ferrari, Honda, Mercedes, and Renault, but Porsche and Aston Martin seem keen to join. Full details on how the cost reduction will be achieved are still to be announced by FIA, but the sports organizing body views this as an objective and will continue to work on the issue over the next year. Input from current teams, engine suppliers and outside experts is all being used to draft the full proposals. Surely by scrapping some of the existing technology and changing the rules means that the previous investment is wasted. How is that a cost saving? You've just made the previous formula expensive because there wasn't a long enough payback period. The closest racing sometimes comes as a product of rules stability. After 4 years rank these things we have 2 out of the 4 manufacturers that can't catch up. Honda has been frankly embarrassing. The racing is suffering due to unreliability, and grid penalties. Getting shot of them, and putting in place something better for racing, and much less costly seems better to me. By the time this comes around, the engine formula will have been in place for 7 years, that's a long enough payback period on an F1 engine. Are you an F1 fan, or just a businessman, woman? Racing's about emotion for fans. The new rules also allow the maximum rev limit to be raised by 3,000 revolutions per minute in an effort to improve the engine's sound, something that has been criticized heavily since the hybrid engines were first introduced. Bring back 3-liter NA engines, 812 cylinders. No amount of tinkering with the little V6s will make them sound anywhere near as good. Save the expensive hybrid tech for the LMP cars. Amen, BC. In fact, why stop at V12s? Bring back the totally mad BRM H16. You are correct, Bob. Bring back the spectacle. That is the only thing about Formula One that people are ultimately drawn to. Formula One has become obsessed about being relevant to hybridization, something that nobody actually craves in the first place, except because the tax system encourages it. The ruination of an F1 race would be to allow a 1995 Ferrari F412 T2 to do a few laps before the start. It was so fundamentally more exciting, spectacular and more spine-tingling. There isn't, and never will be, anything sexy about a 1.6 turbo. It is just a bit crap, however you dress it up. This is painfully reminiscent of the diminution of rallying and touring cars, both destroyed by foolish attempts to be relevant and cut costs. 30 years ago, the rack rally was about to start. Who give a crap now? Does it even still exist? I have no idea. In fact, at some Grands Prix they have a 2-seater giving rides to wealthier paying clients on the Saturday and Sunday. This is a V10 and sounds amazing. The rack is now called Rally GB, it attracted 80,000 spectators and was broadcast to 60 million TV viewers in 150 countries, and it was on at the weekend. The British WRC Team Sport won the Drivers' Overall Championship at it with Sebastian Ogier, the manufacturer's title, and the event itself with British driver Elfyn Evans. So well done to them in succeeding after years of trying. So lots of people give a crap, and you are correct, you have no idea. Who cares about the stupid tech anymore? Just kill the aero. Big rubber. Gear sticks and clutches. And stick some big Chevy V8s in them. Raising the rev limit by 3,000 revolutions per minute may not be the answer. They rarely get anywhere near the 15,000 they're allowed now with the torque available. And with the allowed engines per season dropping from 4 to 3, I doubt they'll want to explore the upper rev limits much anyway. An improvement, big rule changes never work on the competitive front, as one manufacturer always seems to have an advantage at the start of the season whilst others play catch-up. Nothing will make F1 a cheaper sport. Manufacturers spent up to the budget on whatever will give them an advantage. A lot of comments about noise, but remember 99.9% of audience listen to it, with the commentary over the top, on the television, where engine noise is a minor issue compared to a competitive race. This goes some way to explaining why Formula Electric is growing in popularity.